Hey gorgeous, this is episode number 312 with the wonderful Elena Herdieckerhoff.
Hi, this is Elena Herdieckerhoff. You are listening to Heart Sales Podcast with Christine Schlonski. Enjoy!
I am so super excited to have Elena Herdieckerhoff on the show today. You can't even believe how long it took us to actually schedule this interview. And I'm so pumped that it finally has worked with our calendars and I can dive into Elena's amazing success story. Today we will be talking about selling for highly sensitive entrepreneurs. Elena is a highly sensitive person herself and an acclaimed intuitive coach and business mentor since 2014, and she empowers other highly sensitive people around the world to turn their sensitivity into their greatest asset in business and life. She is an award-winning serial entrepreneur and a successful TEDx speaker. I just have checked her TEDx talk on YouTube again, and it has now over 3.3 million views and counting. And in case you don't know me, I'm Christine Schlonski, the host of Heart Sales Podcast, where I interview inspirational, heart-centered entrepreneurs and business leaders about how they have built a wildly successful business and overcame their own challenges in sales. Some of my amazing past guests are Bob Burke, John Lee Dumas, Cindy Carter, Wendy Weiss, Ian Altman, and Anthony Enario, to just name a few. Before we dive into today's episode, this episode is brought to you by Heart Sales Academy. And at Heart Sales Academy, we work with heart-centered, ambitious entrepreneurs who love what they do but feel really uncomfortable in selling their services and products. We help them to shift their mindset by redefining their sales mindset so they can sell with ease, grace, confidence. They can ask their price and be authentic in the process and true to their values. So at the end of the day, they stop being in their own way and they can create a successful business and lifestyle they are looking for. And at the same time, they can support others in their own impact. So if this sounds interesting to you, let's have a chat how we can support you, your impact and business growth. And you can get more information at heartsalesacademy.com. And now let's learn from Elena and her amazing skills on highly sensitive people and TEDx talks. Let's dive right in. Well, I am so super excited to have you on the show today. Welcome, Elena.
Thank you so much, Christine, to invite me to this, and I am so glad to connect with my fellow German.
Yeah, we just had the chat before that. It's funny. We are both German and we live in Germany, but our businesses totally run in English.
Yes.
And it's so fun because I just told you about the workshop, my first workshop I did in German, and how I had some challenges finding words in my own mother tongue.
I share that problem.
Yeah, it's really, really funny. But I guess when you decide that, you just live on this planet and you're not really bound to a country, then obviously the language to use is English.
That's so true.
Yeah. So how did you start out with English then?
Well, actually, my parents sent me to an international school growing up. So for me, English was almost more my mother tongue than German. And so it kind of started from there. And then I studied also in the UK. So for me, English has always been almost more comfortable and more natural than German. And that's why even you and I, we speak in English to each other, even though we could very easily speak German. It just feels very natural and comfortable to do so, yeah.
Yeah, totally true. And I love your work. I mean, you have several facets of your work, but the one I would love to start with is the highly sensitive entrepreneur.
Yes.
Because I feel that if you're highly sensitive, you're probably more on the introvert spectrum. And as soon as you feel so much, the challenge in making sales or thinking about you have to make a sales become a little bit bigger. So let's tackle this topic first. What do you understand by a highly sensitive entrepreneur? Like who would identify as this person?
Yeah, so typically highly sensitive people are people that would identify as being very empathic, creative, multi-passionate, but also not just necessarily introvert. You have extroverted, highly sensitive people too, but it's people that get exhausted from energy overwhelm, whichever camp they fall into. So they need a very good energy management. They feel other people extremely deeply, which can sometimes throw off their inner balance. They can also feel sadness when they see something that moves them or that's distressing very deeply and easily, but they're also equally moved by beauty and by the gorgeousness of life and nature and art. So I would say a highly sensitive person is somebody who's both emotionally sensitive and responsive, but also on a physical level. So you can also be highly sensitive physically speaking. So maybe you're easily irritated by bright lights or by noises in the background. Like you can't focus if you hear things, smell things, see things that are kind of out of what you want it to be. And so you need your environment, just so. And actually, I would always recommend to highly sensitive people to, if they can, to go the route of entrepreneurship, because there you have a modicum of control versus when you work maybe in a corporate environment. You can't choose where you work. You have maybe an open plan office, tons of noises, lights, and different smells and everything that can be really distracting and irritating for a highly sensitive person. And in entrepreneurship, you can choose your environment.
Yeah, I just had a light bulb moment listening to you, realizing that I am a highly sensitive person.
Join the club.
I would have never classified me like highly. I knew I was sensitive, but everything you just described, I checked it off. Mm-hmm. And by being in the sales environment, right? Like my career was high ticket sales over the phone in an open office space. It so bothered me with all the people calling, with the noise. And I really had to learn to navigate and to protect my energy and my space, to focus, to concentrate. And, being an entrepreneur, the freedom, the level of I can choose when to work, from where to work, and what environment to work. When you said beauty, nature, I was like, checkbox. Oh my goodness, you're talking about me. Is that true? And I'm quite sure, because my clients also identify with these things. And we just had the little chat before, right, where I told you about those discoveries. And so my guess now is even more that we have more people listening today than I thought could identify with being highly sensitive. This is really, truly amazing.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy you had your own epiphany.
I was like, I am an empath, but I never thought about it in the way you just described it. So it really got me. With the emotion, with loving beauty, and really deeply connecting with people. That's so important to me.
Yes.
And I feel the more we can do this, the more transformation and change we can support.
Yes,
so, absolutely. Wow. So what are the challenges besides, a noisy environment and not being able to handle situations?
I would say the number one
go of energy.
Yeah, I think the number one thing I hear over and over again over the years of coaching highly sensitive entrepreneurs is overwhelm. And overwhelm for me is a great umbrella term to share that it could be a mix of physical and emotional overwhelm. So for example, we have also highly excitable nervous system. So it means, for example, you're an entrepreneur, you're in a launch, you think, okay, I got this all sorted out, and then something happens, tech lets you down, your nerves can quickly fry. And this sense of overwhelm and highly excitable response can really be difficult to manage, because it has a knock-on effect on your sleep. It has a knock-on effect of how you show up. And then you fall into this overwhelm category, which will be usually a mix of of a physical responsiveness to stress or stimuli, and an emotional response as well. And overwhelm for entrepreneurs is anyway, even non-HSPs have overwhelm all the time, from wearing too many hats, doing too many things, managing people, managing clients, piling up responsibilities. For any entrepreneur already, it's a lot, but for an HSP, it can feel even a bit more overwhelming, I would say. And also, typically the sense of responsibility in an HSP is incredibly high, and the desire to be perfect. So I would say this level of perfectionism is really strongly pronounced, which then makes everything even more hard to manage, because you wanted to get it to a level that is just 110% versus 100%. And people have asked me over the years, why are HSPs so perfectionist? And I think the reason for that is, or one of the reasons, is that HSPs can actually sense and see what perfection could look like. Because we can see energetically so many things, that we have a conceptual understanding that perfection is possible. So just give you an example. You walk into a room and you notice that a painting is hanging slightly crooked on the wall. And 99% of people wouldn't see this. And you are in that room and you cannot stop looking at this, because just a slight adjustment would just make the whole difference to make the whole room more harmonious in your own understanding. So if you take that in our business, we'd be like, oh, but this slight tweak could make such a difference. Oh, this slight tweak would change the look, the energy, the appeal of something. So when we know it could be possible, we often overreach in making things perfect that maybe don't need to be.
Yeah, I'm cracking up on my end here. It's so true. And just having, that feel for details.
Yes.
Right? Seeing the fly on the wall, for example.
Yes.
And noticing, noticing details. And I thought always that this is something that has to do with, female male perception. That, you come into a room and you see the details, while the guys go into a room and they don't even know what color the couch had or something, right? Mm-hmm. But it has more to do with being highly sensitive. That's so interesting.
Yes, and men are highly sensitive too.
Yeah,
so
totally.
No
When you were describing the picture,
exactly.
I see it, but I don't necessarily have that urge to correct it. Mm-hmm. While, for example, with my husband, when we go to a restaurant and the table isn't straightened out, he has to move the table, and I'm like, oh, don't embarrass me, right? Let's sit down. It's all good. Yeah. So he's definitely highly sensitive as well. So it's interesting. So how do people cope then with sales, right? Mm-hmm. What can they do in their business so they can make sure they protect their energy, they are in a good space, they don't fall into overwhelm, and they are empowered to do or be open to do more sales, generate more sales, and have those connections that might cost them some energy?
Yes. So I think the first thing that typically creates more lightness around the topic of sales for HSPs is to already not call it sales, because sales is a label that most HSPs will reject, because they don't want to be selling, because that feels like they're doing something that's not natural to them. So if you say to somebody, well, don't worry, you don't have to sell, you just have to share. And that feels like much better already. Like, oh, I get to share what I love, or I get to share what I've created. This already moves it into a realm of more lightness and freedom and joy. So in the sharing, what are HSPs particularly good at is the connection part. And to not go in with a typical agenda of closing the sale, which again doesn't really work for an HSP, to say I'm gonna sell to this person. And no, if they can go in knowing they don't have to do anything. They can just share and just build a human heart-to-heart connection. This is where HSPs shine, because they can build rapport very easily because of their empathy. They come across, and they usually are quite trustworthy people because they care so much and feel everything so deeply. So they can showcase their difference of their product or service by really letting that part of their personality shine, and by just allowing people to discover what they have versus forcing it. I think anything that's forced doesn't work, and scripting of sales also does not work for an HSP, because a sales script, what that usually does, it feels constricting, and then the natural flow of connection gets lost for an HSP. And I'm actually not, saying that sales scripts can work in different contexts for different personality types, but I would say for an HSP, it wouldn't be my recommendation to have that. What I did find, though, that helps is because HSPs feel then, when it comes to, sharing the price, or at the end, like, okay, wonderful, I love everything I've heard, and then what? This is when the grounds get a bit shakier, because that's where you need to actually be a bit confident and bold and say, okay, so what are the next steps basically here that I can offer you, and this is what it costs, or whatever the case may be. And here I find it does help to have just a few bullet points that you want to cover, that you have there, just so as an HSP you can hold on to that, to give yourself that steadiness and also not back out. So what I've seen over and over again is that HSPs kind of drop the ball before throwing it, meaning they had an amazing connection all the way through to the end, and then it comes to, even an informal, gentle close, and they pull back, and they drop the commitment to themselves to ask for the sale. Because then they're like, no, it didn't feel right. And if you really probe, it did feel right, but they were scared of rejection. And so if you then have just like a few bullet points of what you want to say at the end, you have something to hold on to, and also to hold yourself accountable to not drop that ball when you're actually at that point of the conversation, and to back yourself and say, no, I'm going to actually finish what I started, and not just be like, maybe this isn't the right person, or maybe it's not the right time for them, or whatever, and then not even try.
Yeah, totally. This makes so sense. I always say share and invite. Because when you forget that part at the end, you don't get to support that person, right? You don't get to help them transform whatever they wanted to transform. Right. And at the end of the day, it hurts your business as well. So I just love how you outlined that. And it's so, so important, especially when you transition over, the conversation is kind of finished. You're talking to your soulmate client. You have to invite. So helpful with the bullet points so you don't get lost.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the rejection, because you already mentioned it, that people would shy back from making the invitation, making the offer, asking for the sale, however you want to name it, because of fear of rejection. Why is it maybe different for a highly sensitive person? How do they feel when they feel so deeply? What does it do to them when they get rejected, and how can they navigate around it?
I think having been an HSP entrepreneur for almost 2 decades myself, I know this feeling intimately, because rejection for an HSP often feels like it's personal, and it plays right into the very unhelpful storyline of you're not good enough. And highly sensitive people, most of them, if you ask one, have a track record of being told that they are somehow faulty for being so sensitive, that something is wrong with them for being this way. So then the fear of having somebody press on that very wound spot and again kind of say, oh, I don't want use or something from you, that kind of plays into this bigger storyline of people don't accept me, people don't think I'm good enough, people don't think I'm worthy. And of course, a foundational piece of that is then actually that it a story we somewhere believe in, that we are indeed not worthy or good enough. So to deal with the fear of rejection, I don't think we can do that vis-a-vis the client. That's an inner journey. That's an inner work journey where we allow ourselves to maybe process the trauma and pain of rejection, abandonment, separation that we've experienced in our life. And this is true for non-HSPs too, right? But for HSPs in particular, this is important to really process those emotions and maybe even that grief that comes from the storyline, and then slowly rebuild trust with oneself so that you don't experience a no as it's about you, that you can actually see a no as a neutral answer to your offer, that it has nothing to do with your worthiness, with your being, with your personality. It has nothing to do with that. And I think that can feel really good once you transcend that story. Like today, if somebody tells me no, it has no impact on me. But if you ask me that same question when I started out 20 years ago, a no would feel devastating to me. So it's really is that inner journey that can strengthen it. And I think any form of self-love exercises, meditations, therapy, anything that can be done in that realm, I would highly advise that.
Yeah. That's so cool. I remember my first no's and learning that process, that it's not about me personally. Mm-hmm. Right? It just means it's not now. The product might not be a fit. The timing might not be a fit. The pricing might not be a fit, whatever it is. Really learning that and protecting you and your thoughts about your value and self-worth, and giving you the self-love, as you just said. That's so beautiful and so necessary to really get into the position to have a thriving business, because you will make a lot of invitations.
Yes, that's right. And rejection, I think if you're not rejected in your sales offerings, you're not putting out enough of them.
Ooh, ouch. Spot on. That's true. That would be a good system to not get rejection. Just don't make offers.
Don't make offers, or just do it every couple of weeks, and then it's
Yeah, totally. And I just love, because you brought us a free mini course, Step into Your Sensitive Power, with 4 transformational video trainings for highly sensitive people and empath. And people can learn so much about this too. So what are they learning when they sign up for it?
Basically, what I did is I took key areas that I know HSPs need to address in terms of understanding their trait, accepting their trait, how they deal with other people, how they can relate to themselves. So it's really a course I designed as a foundational course to thrive with your sensitive gifts, and to kind of step out of the shadow sides that can come with sensitivity and step into the bright and light sides. And that's why I also wanted to offer that as a free gift, because I feel everybody needs that kind of initial starting point to really deepen their own self-understanding, and then heighten also their self-worth and their joy at who they are and how they show up in the world.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited because we do have another conversation. And what you teach people also is how to be on a TEDx stage, how to prepare for it. And especially because you have that background with the highly sensitive people, but obviously also with other entrepreneurs who really want to be on that stage, because with that stage, you get enormous visibility. You get really like the proven expert stamp, so to speak, right? Because you have a TEDx talk. And we will be covering in our next conversation, we will be covering points of where people can start it, how, what to look out for, what's important. Yeah. And I'm so super excited we get that opportunity to talk about that. So thank you so much, Elena, for having been on today and sharing. And people will find your free mini course in the show notes with all the links that connect to you. And I can't wait for our next interview.
Same here, Christine. It's just been a delight to talk all things HSPs with you.
Thank you so much, and for my light bulb moment as well. So, I can't even wait to see like what would it be like for an HSP or any other person to be on a TEDx stage and to master and handle that next level of expertise.
Yes, I'm excited to share all things TEDx with you in take 2.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to it. Bye for now.
Thank you. Me too. Bye for now.
Well, I just love this episode, especially the revelation I had that I am a highly sensitive person, which I never guessed that I qualify for it. I hope you had some aha moments as well. And I hope you really could take something away of how to maybe turn the overwhelm into a gift, into an asset in your business and life. Make sure you hop on over to christineschlonski.com and you find the podcast tab. And there you have the show notes, the resources, and all the links that connect to Elena. Everything is just one click away. In the resource section, you find Elena's wonderful free gifts, as well as the Heart-Centered Lead Generation Summit experience that I will put in there for you, so you can fill your pipeline with clients and never have to wonder again, where is the next client coming from? Also, we are so excited to celebrate this week the second birthday of Hard Sells podcast with over 300 episodes. Also, we are so excited to celebrate Hard Sells' second birthday this week on November 29th, and we have celebrations going on for the whole week. So when you're over at the resource section, you also want to check out our amazing giveaway, as well as the opportunity of how you can get your voice on Hard Sells podcast. Hop on over to christineschlonski.com, find the podcast tab, and there you will find all the information in the resource section. Thank you so much for having been here. I'm really looking forward to the next conversation with Elena on the topic how to get on a TEDx stage. She's going to share her amazing knowledge, and with over 3.3 million views on YouTube, I am really looking forward to this conversation. Have a wonderful day wherever you are in this beautiful world, and I'm saying bye for now.